Hi there, my name's Joa. I'm a vlogger and I create cut files for Cricut and Silhouette machines and love all things crafty. Today I'm going to show you how to make a reverse canvas using baby wipes and acrylic paint for this faux stained finish. This cut file itself with the stain can be downloaded free on my website at specialheartstudio.com. Let's get started. The first thing that you'll need to do is cut the canvas off of the frame that it came with. I'm using a 12 by 16 canvas and it has black coating. I wanted to have a black background on my sign without going to the trouble of painting the canvas myself. So you'll see I take an X-Acto knife and trim on the outside of the staples to cut the canvas off of the frame. This next step is totally optional, but I am recording this video to show how I would make a reverse canvas if I were going to sell it, so it would have a very professional finished look on the back. So I will remove the staples that were holding the canvas in place originally, so that the back will have a more finished look when we're done. Now that I have the canvas and the staples removed from the frame, I'm ready to get started using the faux stain method. To do this, I'll use one baby wipe and literally wipe the acrylic paint. I'm using Craft Smart brand that I purchased at Michael's in espresso color, and we'll wipe it onto the frame. I'll fold the baby wipe so that it's just in a little square, and then it takes just a teeny amount of paint. Barely get the baby wipe wet with your paint and literally just start wiping it everywhere on the frame. I chose not to do the very back panel simply for drying time. But you just gently rub the baby wipe all over the places that you want to have the stained wood look. When the baby wipe and the paint is not adhering to the wood as much, add just another drop of paint to the baby wipe and just keep going. Because the coat of paint is so thin, it doesn't take long at all to dry. So I will set this aside and cut and weed my HTV for the front of the sign itself. By the time we have this cut, fully weeded and pressed, the sign, the frame will be dry so that we can go ahead and attach it to our sign. To prepare the canvas for our HTV, I need to remove the folded parts where the canvas wrapped around the frame. So I'm simply going to take my scissors and trim that part off where the creases are. They'll stick out since I'm not rewrapping the frame anyway. So there's some excess canvas in the folds, and I just cut that off with my scissors. Now we're ready to prepare the canvas for HTV, and then I use a piece of chipboard, which is a mounting board that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. Behind the canvas itself, I actually attach the canvas using a spray adhesive to the chipboard to keep my reverse canvas sign from getting wrinkles in the canvas. I feel that it gives it a more finished look. This is a step that you can skip. If you prefer not to add the chipboard, you could simply staple the canvas back onto the frame once you've pressed your design on the canvas. So here you'll see I'm cutting the chipboard down to size. The canvas frame that I used for this project is 12 by 16. I'm cutting the chipboard to 11.5 by 15.5 so that it will not stick out from the sides when it's placed on the back of the frame. The chipboard is perfectly sized, so now we'll focus our attention to the front of the sign. I'm going to line up my design so that it's even. I don't want the words to be crooked once I press it. So I've placed the HTV where I want it on the canvas. Now that I've got it all lined up how I want it, I'm going to use my Easy Press. I covered the design with parchment paper, and that's simply because this black canvas it's coated in a paint, I believe. There's certainly a coating, and I didn't want that to get on the bottom of my Easy Press. Now that the HTV is pressed onto the canvas, I'm going to make sure that I have the frame lined up straight with my design. So I'm using just a pencil to mark the corners of where I'll want to permanently place that frame. And I mentioned that I use chipboard to keep the canvas flat. So I'm going to temporarily use painter's tape to attach my piece of canvas to the chipboard. I will take it outside and spray it. That part won't be on video, but I do use Elmer's Craft Bond spray adhesive to attach that canvas to the chipboard backing. Now that I have the canvas lined exactly where I want it on the chipboard, this is where I'll use just a couple pieces of painter's tape in a hinge type method so that I can flip that canvas open, spray both the canvas and the chipboard with my spray adhesive, and then sandwich the two together. Okay, I'm back inside. I took the canvas and chipboard while it was taped outside to use my spray adhesive. It just makes a big mess, and this is a fairly large piece, so I didn't have a box big enough for overspray. So now I'm going to use a brayer. It's still a little bit damp, so I want to make sure that it's pressed on there really, really well, and remove the tape, and I'll be ready to reattach this to the frame with the faux stain using that acrylic paint and the baby wipe. Because I had already marked where I wanted the frame earlier, it's really easy now to line up. I am going to use a staple gun and staple the edges evenly around the outside of the frame, right at the edge of the chipboard. Once in a while, I'll use a hammer if the staple doesn't go in so that it's flush with the chipboard. Before I staple all around the top, I'm going to attach right in the center a sawtooth hook hanger so that it's easy to hang this lightweight frame on a single nail. And then I'll finish around the edge with my staples. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned some tips and tricks for your craft time that can be put to use. If you would like to download the free SVG, I still remember the days I prayed for the things I have now. You can find that free on my website at specialheartstudio.com. I will also have a link to the products I use to make the tutorial. If you liked this, please hit the subscribe button and visit over on my blog, specialheartstudio.com. Thanks!